Hi everyone and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast. And we're coming to you from FUSION15 in New Orleans. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with Gerard Green.
Hey, Kirsty.
Carlos Casanova.
Hello, Kirsty.
Now we're going to chat with Christoph Goldenstern from Kepner-Tregoe.
Hello, Kirsty.
Yeah, maybe we just start off with, maybe you want to explain just a little bit about what Kepner-Tregoe is and what you're doing.
Sure. So we're a methodology-based consulting and training company, which was one of the, I guess we can say, originators of the business process improvement and critical thinking movement.
Right. Yep.
I guess we can claim we probably were the first to codify root cause analysis.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a term that you've heard of. That goes all the way back to the 50s. The founders that gave the company the name Kepner-Tregoe were actually, they were researchers. They worked for the Rand Corporation.
Yep.
And they looked at how do people solve problems and make decisions under pressure. And they sort of codified these best practice behaviors and put it into a methodology, which has become known as the Kepner-Tregoe methodology, and then said, we think this is so essential, we want to bring this to the world. They were really more missionaries than business people.
Right.
They wanted to prove that
Yep.
this critical thinking could apply in all cultures and all languages. And that's how the company started off.
Wow, that's cool. So you guys, I think you mentioned that a little bit of a focus on the incident and stuff. So, what are you seeing from an industry perspective that you guys are really working with your clients on in that space and leveraging that sort of critical thinking models, the challenges that they're running into,
Sure.
and you're trying to help them get over?
Well, what we're doing is taking these critical thinking processes, but really building them into their business to drive real results. We started off as a training company, but today companies don't buy training anymore. They buy results, right? So what we do is we help companies actually apply these concepts to what I sometimes call increase IT stability by reducing resolution time, reducing recurring incidents, and increasing efficiency. I guess in that context, what surprises me a little bit is that despite a lot of companies' investments into CMDBs and knowledge databases, they're still very much stuck in firefighting mode.
Oh, yeah.
So really in incident management mode, and don't seem to be able to get out of that. And what all of our clients are telling us essentially is that both the complexity and the volume of incidents keep going up.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I think part of that is because we're paying a whole lot of attention to incident management, but not as much to problem management maybe as we should. And I think, again, part of that is that we have a very short-term focus, and companies want speed. They want it all fixed quickly. And I think a lot of them seem to think that you can't have quality and speed. There's a trade-off, right? It's either or. Well, we actually believe quality is the driver of speed. For example, we know that the quality of a problem statement is a predictor of the resolution time. And we've tested this through various projects, and we know, for example, if you consistently have a good problem statement in be it part of your incident process or your problem process, on average your resolution time goes down by 18%. So that's just one example how quality drives speed.
I mean, so often you actually are working on the wrong problem. You're working on a symptom rather than the actual problem.
Right. But that's the difficulty thing, right? Because we incent that. Just get it closed. Look, I can reboot the server and it'll be done. Well, this particular issue is done, but have we really solved anything? No. Typically we haven't. And we know we're going to do that 20 more times. So I think that's where your quality comes in, right? If you total up the amount of times that you've gone through it, yes, you've resolved it very quickly for that point in time, but you've done it 18 times.
Right.
Versus potentially really what was the real problem there.
And then the cost around it, doing it 80 times. What's the cost of doing that
We-
activity versus the cost of just
Exactly.
resolving it for
And not so much just the financial cost, but the business impact.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That's the real cost that we lose a lot because it's not as easy to count up.
Right.
It was 7.5 minutes. That's X amount of
Right.
thing.
Or the opportunity cost. I mean,
Yeah.
you can balance it a whole bunch
Excellent.
of different ways.
Exactly.
And Phil, let me ask you a question. So how much of it do you think is, there's clearly, defined roles, responsibilities from an incident perspective. You can say the service desk and other people own that. You absolutely have to do change. But then when I have to put a problem management team together, who typically owns and drives problem management in an organization from your perspective?
Well, that's an interesting question and one that we get regularly asked. I find that most organizations right now, it's not a clearly defined role, and oftentimes it's a distributed responsibility. There's nobody really owning problem management. And we found that the organizations that have been most successful is actually who've centralized it to some degree. You have a clear owner and someone whose primary and only job is problem management.
So it's on a business card.
It's right. And there's no, again, this is the short-term, long-term conflict that we always have, and that the urgent always takes priority over the important. If someone doesn't fully own it, there's always going to be a short-term priority conflict with it.
Sure.
And even if that's a very small group, I would always recommend centralize it and have clear ownership accountability around problem management. And don't let it be just a part-time job of our technical experts and our technology silos, because they will always shove it off to the side. And then there's the whole aspect of how do we pull that knowledge actually together and make sure we don't solve the same problems over and over again.
Exactly.
So
We're really good at solving that thing because
we
we do it 20 times
so,
a week.
We're so good at doing that.
we always have the time to do it, solve it again, but
Yeah.
we never have the time to
That's
solve it
right.
right first time.
I guess one of the problems too is there's a real conflict of interest sometimes between incident management and problem management.
I've
Because
seen
the incident
organizations-
manager wants to get it fixed, and then because they do that, they mask the symptoms that the problem manager needs to see.
I've actually seen organizations that have the same owner for both.
Yeah, you can't. You just
And,
can't.
and I
well,
look
I
at
don't
them,
think it works
how do
anyway.
you do that when they have, almost opposite
Yeah.
intentions? The problem manager, in theory, please leave it broken,
Yeah.
so I can really investigate it and dig through it and figure out exactly what that root cause is, versus the incident manager, which is like,
Wants to put a sticking
reboot it, do
plaster
what,
on it.
yeah, just like we want to put a Band-Aid and go on.
Yeah.
It's like I can move on to the
We
next
just
one.
want to hide the problem so that
Well,
everyone
no,
can
it's,
carry
yeah, I don't
on.
know
Yeah.
so much about hiding, but it's like
Well, it's
resolution.
masking.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah.
to get everyone back to work.
Exactly.
And that's going to be putting a sticking plaster over
Yeah.
the problem.
This has been a big
Yeah.
theme of the conversations, is around that notion of look at all these fires I put out. Look how
Right.
awesome I am at putting
Yeah.
out fires. I got a
Yeah.
whole list of stuff. You want to
Yeah.
ask what I've done. And the real value would be sort of there's no incidents. There's no issues. We
That's
talked
right.
to a CIO last week in an event, and he said, they came in and they said, look, we got our cost per contact down to, under $10. That's a great, benchmark for us. And the CIO goes, that's great, but isn't the call to the help desk the failure? So what if we
Yeah.
looked at it from that perspective? And they said, well, that would change everything.
Yeah.
This is well, absolutely.
You don't have to put them out if they don't actually
If they don't
start.
exist. But I don't
Yeah.
think we know how to live in that world.
I actually once had a really enlightened manager. And
Once?
the-
How many years
yeah,
you been in this
yeah.
industry?
And
How many clients?
What company was that?
Yeah,
That says it all.
One of the managers walked into the incident room one day and saw that about 3 of the people who were supposed to be managing incidents were actually playing solitaire, and went to the manager and said, "Oh, this is not good enough. They were sitting around doing nothing." He said, "Hey, look, I'm actually really pleased that they've got time to play solitaire.
Yeah.
It's like we can
Because
go
it means
break
nothing's
something.
broken. You go and break something, and then they'll start working again."
Yeah, it's crazy. But so so you see that from and I kind of want to go back to a statement you made before about the the configuration management. Obviously, that kind of piques my curiosity. I even when you were talking about like the formalization of problem management, and the first time really in all these years that it kind of started saying, I wonder how much closer that should be to config management, because if you really have a configuration management system in place, when you start really dissecting that and looking and doing the analytics on a true CMS, your root causes, I would think, not only from a true root cause, but a predictive, hey, you're going to have this because we're seeing trends. Does
Well,
the
now
analytics that you guys work on, does that kind of start
I
going
think you're
like
getting
that?
to a point, you got to this point as well. I mean, and this might not sit well with some of the ITIL purists here,
That's
but
okay. We're
None of us are purists.
we're far beyond.
Yeah.
we strongly believe that you
That
need
was
to
15 years ago.
you need to look at a very tight integration of incident and problem management.
Right.
And I would even extend that into knowledge, CMDB, or if you go to the front end of that, monitoring.
Yes.
So this is where you start capturing the data. This is why you identify clusters of issues that should be fed into incident management. Incidents should talk to problem management. They should be speaking the same language. They should have clear standards for information handover and triggers for when incident gets involved versus problem management gets involved. Right now we have this very strong delineation between those processes, and they're silos, and that's why we just keep reinventing the wheel. So, but it's interesting, I sometimes go into organizations and they ask us, we want you to help us improve the critical incident management piece. We said, well, in order to do that, we need to also talk to your problem managers.
Yeah.
Well, why do you need to do
want to
that?
talk to them?
Yeah, what do you want to talk to
Well,
people? Yeah.
because they're two parts of the same coin, and the same happens with problem management.
Yeah, it's amazing that some of these things seem so obvious, and we just keep on.
Yeah, we
you know,
do. We just keep
year-over-year.
churning over the same issues time and time again. So, well, thanks a lot for your time, Christoph.
Thank you
It's
for
been
having me. I
a pleasure
appreciate it.
chatting to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christoph.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.